Good evening, Tiger sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of Tiger Sports Nation. I'm Francisco Villa.
And I'm Joey Webster. Conference play was the theme of the week last week as the Tigers battled conference rivals Wittenberg, Denison, and Wabash in a variety of events. Before we start, we want to thank everyone for tuning in and make sure to give D3 TV a follow on our social media accounts as well as a like and your thoughts on the show below.
Starting us off in women's lacrosse, who battled Wittenberg last week at home and on the road. DePauw would win their first game 16-7 following a dominant performance on both ends of the field. Senior Grace Clark would finish the game with 6 goals, followed by teammates Emma Kennedy with 4 and Bria Randolph with 3. The Tigers followed up with another big win on senior day, completing the sweep of Wittenberg with a score of 18-4. DePauw would start the game on an 8-1 run, and their 12-2 lead at halftime proved too big for Wittenberg to overcome. Women's lacrosse is now 4-0 in NCAC play and 6-3 overall.
Men's lacrosse also battled Wittenberg last week. However, the Tigers would unfortunately drop both games, going 0-2 on the week. Despite a late rally by the Tigers in the first game, Wittenberg was able to hold on for a 10-9 win. Senior Will Roberts scored twice in the final minute to pull DePauw to within 1 goal. However, Wittenberg was able to tighten up their defense to secure the win. DePauw would lose the next game 12-5 in Springfield and now move to 3-6 overall with a 2-2 record in conference.
Next up is men and women's tennis, who matched up against Wittenberg last week as well. The women's team secured the sweep going 2-0 in their matches, but would later fall to Denison on the road by a score of 8-1. The women's tennis team now holds a 5-8 record overall with a 3-1 record in the conference. Men's tennis beat Wittenberg 7-2 in match 1 and 5-0 in match 2, improving to 3-0 in the NCAC play and 5-5 overall.
The DePauw outdoor track and field teams competed in the DePauw Quad 2 last week, with the women's team securing a first-place finish and the men's team coming in 4th. The women's team put up a total of 190.5 points, tallying 6 individual first-place finishes and took first in both relays. The men's team recorded 120.5 points total and saw 2 individual first-place finishes, followed by 5 second-place finishes and 2 third-place finishes.
The golf teams hit the road for Denison last week to compete in the annual Denison Spring Invitational. The women's team finished second overall, shooting a 2-round 661, while the host Denison won with a 634. Paige Sanfilippo finished 5th overall with a 161, followed closely by Crystal Chan at 6th and Sydney Weiner at 10th.
The men's team would take 4th in their tournament, shooting a 2-round 613. James Gilmore led DePauw with a 7th-place finish, followed closely by Jacob Kelber and Grant Germano. Denison would win the tournament at 577, followed by Ohio Wesleyan and Wittenberg. Wabash finished last.
DePauw softball continues to dominate as the Tigers win 4-0 last week, sweeping Wittenberg at home and on the road. DePauw won the first 2 games in Greencastle 8-2 and 8-5, then traveled to Springfield where they won 3-2 and 6-1 in another doubleheader. Junior pitcher Cammie Henry moved to 12-0 as the Tigers continue to rise in the Division III rankings. DePauw is now 21-2 overall and 4-0 in the conference and are now ranked 9th in the country.
Last but not least, we have the baseball team. Following a no-hitter by DePauw's own Michael Vallone, the Tigers were able to go 2-0 on the road over Wittenberg by scores of 8-0 and 4-2. Vallone's no-hitter in the first game was the first solo no-hitter for DePauw since Greg Nostein did so against Purdue in 1980. DePauw would eventually split their 4-game series against Wittenberg, dropping their next 2 games at home, 10-9 and 11-0. They would later host Wabash for another doubleheader on Sunday, falling to the Little Giants 11-6 and 4-3 to go 4-2 overall on the week. The baseball team now sits at 10-14 overall.
That will wrap it up for this episode of Tiger Sports Nation. We want you to thank all of you for watching. Remember to give us a follow and like or comment below. I'm Francisco Villa.
And I'm Joey Webster. Best of luck to all our student athletes this week, and as always,
Roll Tigs!